The incelish rant. I was recently told by a girl I was seeing that she wanted to be with someone she could be proud of, someone who is better than herself. Not me, according to her. First of all, ouch. Not the first time this happens. I am not tall or muscular. I do not exude confidence. I do not behave in the most conventional, manly way. It's not who I am, nor who I want to be. I've cut ties with my family years ago. I've struggled with anxiety my entire life and also depression in recent years. My support network is incredibly small, and I'm having to learn alone as an adult a lot of basic stuff most kids learn from their parents: self-love, confidence, relationship skills. Despite all that crap, I'm an engineer in one of the biggest tech companies in the world. I make 20 times my country's average salary and am on my way to retire before 40. I taught myself English through games and music. I lost over 50 pounds in the last year and am now working to get a body I can be proud of. I've been working on my mental health since the beginning of the pandemic. Anxiety is no longer a struggle, and despite all this rant, the world seems a lot easier to navigate nowadays, thanks to Dr. K and to therapy. I don't have a lot of friends, but I try my best to be there for them and help them whenever they need me. They treasure me, and I treasure them too. The girl I mentioned above seems to be/have none of these things, by the way. I'm writing this because I am truly proud of the person I am and the things I've accomplished. However, it seems like most people don't see me like that. When it comes to people and relationships, it feels as if hard work and consistency can never beat natural selection. Nobody cares about all my progress. No amount of effort or goodwill seems to be enough. If a man is born 5 inches taller, the world treats him like gold. If a man is taught self-love and confidence from loving parents, all doors seem to open for him at the slightest touch. Meanwhile, I'm invisible. I have to scream just so people know I'm here. Whenever other people are involved, everything is a lot harder. Everything I get has to be earned. I try to think positively. All the extra hard work will make me stronger, more resilient, smarter. All the tangible, useful qualities I've been acquiring will outweigh the fact that I'm 5'8" and a bit shy. Yet, I'm still alone. Maybe I'm wrong. So I'm starting to think no amount of effort will be enough. I'm starting to think I'm doomed to run in circles. No one will ever see the awesomeness and the potential I see in myself. What's the point? So I could use some external inputs and new perspectives on this. I'm running out of ideas, patience, and hope. By the way, this is not my usual mood. I had a bad week. Sorry if it sounds arrogant, envious, entitled, incelish. Hope it's okay to vent here. Thanks for reading.
So, here we are. I've made several different videos. I don't know if you guys, have seen them, if you've previewed them, where I say you have to do what's right because it's right, not for any expected result, not because you think there's going to be some wop at the end of the tunnel, not because you'll finally have status. You'll do what's right because it is right. And the reason why I encourage that is to help you guys avoid disappointment. Because I don't want anyone to feel the way I felt in my life. There's a huge chunk of the reason why I make these YouTube videos is so the people that slide by here, if you felt how I felt, hopefully they can, validate you just a little bit. But more than that, give you some solutions that helped me out, help you see the world in a much more practical way, to help you move about it. And I want a lot of people to kind of avoid the feelings and pitfalls I felt. And one of the most important ones that I've seen getting trucked along or getting passed around, like probably for the last 3 or 4 years, like in the manosphere, is this prosperity preaching. Those of y'all who are familiar with like Joel Osteen, and actually a lot of you guys who are probably currently atheists now, who went to church, are probably familiar with a lot of churchians talking about how God's just going to bless you. You're going to go through all these trials, all these tribulations. At the end, God's just going to bless you. He's going to give you so much money. It's part of the reason why I'm not fond of church and many different churches now. Despite the fact that, I am still a Christian. I find what I like to call churchianity rather annoying. It's a huge focus on materialism, a huge focus on prosperity, a huge focus on what you'll get at the end of it all. And to that extent, a lot of the dating gurus and the dating coaching in the manosphere is much the same. although a bit different. For the churchianity, Joel Osteen crowd of, you give me your tithe now, we're going to bless this seed and multiply 10,000 fold, not focusing on what Jesus Christ actually wants you to be, not focusing on what the apostles and his disciples wrote for a great way to be a person. Nay, just prosperity. I'm not fond of that. In the same way that, again, in the manosphere, you'll find a lot of that prosperity preaching is you focus on your grind. You work hard. You get status. You get money. But you don't do all this stuff so the women like you. Even though the entire reason you came to this side of the internet was to figure out ways to get women to like you. You do this for yourself. You accrue all these resources and you work hard for you. But I've oftentimes always found that to be rather hollow. For what is the point of having large amounts of resources to use only on yourself? You, as a human, don't need much. Unless you're just a particularly greedy, selfish, hedonistic, and very self-indulgent person, working hard to gain an access of resources to only spend on yourself seems kind of gross, for a lot of people at least. And if not gross, seems hilariously pointless and hollow. I mean, you have all these resources and you just buy a bunch of expensive, fancy things that don't technically actually work better than things that aren't equally as expensive. I mean, if you buy a $1,500 marble bathtub, it works the same as a $100 bathtub. But the thing that's interesting, right, is despite the fact that results not guaranteed or results may vary, and you will see lots of different dating coaching programs just strewn about the internet. The reason why, being rather simple, lots of young men are lonely, lots of young men are confused, lots of young men don't understand how women work and how they operate and how they're supposed to actually find a meaningful relationship. And so what happens is a lot of them get told the prosperity message. You work hard, you get on your grind, you do what you're supposed to do, and at the end of that tunnel, sir, you'll get all of them flocking to you. What they don't tell you is that the type of women that will flock to you, if they do flock, are probably mentally ill for one, selfish for two, and for three, just kind of want your stuff. You are the middleman between them and the stuff they want. Because unfortunately, what a lot of people aren't really taught, and a lot of young men aren't instructed on, is that the modern woman looks at us as tools. If not tools, sometimes they look at us as clowns. We're a source of entertainment for them. We're a video game. Or a good way, a good analogy to compare how modern women look at modern women is they look at us like we're video games. The same way we seek challenges and seek excitement, and the same way we seek cool, interesting new worlds and different experiences in multiple different video games, that's how women are looking at us. And what the modern dating coach has taught us is how to become the best clown, the best tool, the best high-value man that women want to come and use. Because no woman actually wants to be with a high-value man because he's a great person unto himself. It's because he's got resources and he's going to make her life easier and better and give her the option to do what she wants. He's going to tickle her fancies, rustle her jimmies, get the womp flowing. And so you've worked hard to become this workhorse to be used by women that don't like you and don't really actually care about you. There might be some people who get lucky, kind of, maybe. But honestly, it's really tough to find a woman that just really likes you, like as a person these days, at least. At least once you kind of get out of like high school and college, it becomes mighty difficult for just adults. And that's why the solution is to become so great, so magnificent, that they cannot help but to pick you. They can't help but to choose you because you offer them so much value. You're so much better than all these other men. They would be silly to not want you. But again, of course, this is putting materialism above honor, above integrity, above actually being virtuous, a good person, someone who's steadfast and sticks next to someone because they're loyal. The only thing that really matters is the fact that you can give her stuff. Again, you're a wallet, you're a tool, you're a clown that's supposed to spark her interest in stuff. But are those how families are formed? No, because this isn't about forming families. This is about winning the game. The game being able to exert your will upon the opposite sex. Women have a much easier time exerting their will upon the opposite sex because they're just usually desirable by men regardless. I mean, whether they're super pretty or just kind of meh, even to the women that are ugly. It's not tough to find male attention. It's not even tough for them to get drunk off the male attention as well, but we'll save that conversation for another time. The dating coaches are trying to teach you guys how to win this version of the game. I mean, they call it game. It's not even, the analogy is right in your face. But of course, it never really taught what happens when you do what you're supposed to do. You play the game, you win it correctly, and it doesn't matter. With our young man we saw here, who, our doctor read the Reddit post. A young man here, he did everything he was supposed to do. He's financially doing very well. He's lost a lot of weight. He's trying. He's doing what he's supposed to do. And he encounters a young lady who tells him that she can't be proud of him. I mean, I don't know what she wants. That's just hilarious. I'm sorry. It's sad, but it's hilarious too, because it's like, what do you want? You have someone who has shown intelligence, they've shown grit, they've shown will, they have shown that they have all of the character as well as now the material, and it's still not good enough. That's how a lot of these men are going to feel. And Dr. K, if I say it correctly, his video is great in many ways. His whole video is like 30 minutes long, and he tells us being the audience, not me, I already know this, that in reality, there's obviously more of a problem with that lady who rejected him than our male friend here who was rejected. And I think that's a bit obvious. I think that's hilariously obvious. But it really doesn't matter now, does it? Because what we've done in the manosphere, what we've done with listening to dating gurus and coaches, what we've done is we haven't actually addressed the issue. Instead, we tried to adapt to it. Instead, we tried to become the very problem itself. In many different ways, many different layers. In becoming fuckboys that are damn near psychopathic in their relationships to women, to hoarding and working hard to gain a lot of resources to only really benefit yourself and then kind of use on women so you can use them to relive high school, basically, because a lot of people just stuck in a state of arrested development. You don't work towards getting a family and providing all those skills in life to another person. You're ultimately just a really selfish individual. But that's okay, right? Because society's going to collapse, so it really doesn't matter, right? That's how a lot of people feel. Again, we don't really discuss what happens when this doesn't work, because the problem is the fact that it never should have worked to begin with. The problem is we never should have had a state of affairs where every man has to go the distance to be able to find someone to love him, which technically speaking isn't really even going to be the case. Technically, these women are never going to love those men. They're going to love the things that men has. Again, you're just kind of the middleman in between her materialism. You've crafted numerous different dating methods, schools of thoughts, a whole bunch of nonsense to get us to be the best damn workhorse there ever be. Darn near Pegasus, I guess you could say. But a Pegasus still gets rode all the same. You can't really escape that reality. But even if you can't even escape the reality of what happens when you're successful, again, what happens when you're not successful? When you do everything right and it doesn't matter. That's not oftentimes addressed very often. Which is why you can find a lot of people getting into this state of genetic determinism, where men who are like 5'8" think that they're too short, when in reality, being 5'8" actually isn't really short at all. But, to young ladies that wish for you to tower upon them, I guess it is, right? It's interesting when men who are 5'8" think that they're short. It's like... I mean, I'm 6'1", so I don't really have any issue with my height, but That's neither here nor there. I usually include my height so you guys don't think that like I'm defending short people, because I am a short person. I mean, like, have you seen my wingspan? No, the point that I'm trying to make is the fact that it's not sustainable to ask every man to shoot for the moon and reach for the stars in order to find women to date. And again, it's women to date. It's not women to marry. It's not women to have good relationships with. It's not women that you'd want to live with and die for. You're not fighting for women of that caliber. You're fighting for sleuts. And if not for sleuty girls, you're fighting for the modern woman. The modern woman that doesn't respect you, that doesn't like you, that doesn't care about you. The modern woman that sees you as beneath her. Can you believe the fact that this woman said that after everything our friend here did, she couldn't be proud of him. She couldn't look up to him. Why is that? Because her standard of what a man is just superhuman at this point. And if not superhuman, it's just off to the stars, off into the galaxies somewhere. The problem that we never really addressed, which is what Kevin Samuels was trying to do, was that women's standards have gotten ludicrous. See, like inside of high school and in college, there's a huge pool of individuals who you can talk and chat and be around with. And unfortunately, if you're in those environments and you're outside of that pool, you're a social outcast in one way or another, you're not in that pool. And so once you get out of that pool, you're kind of left by yourself. And the only way to really stand out from being a cog in the machine of life is to be the most beautiful, a golden cog that everyone looks to. The shiniest, most beautiful golden cog that there is. But of course, it's not sustainable. It's not even reasonable that it's asked as young men to have to work this hard, especially for women that don't work equally as hard, for one, but for two, have no intention of actually trying to form families. Again, you're not working to gain a giant empire, be a top 10% man so you can marry one woman and have a good life with her. You're doing that so you can have a string of women. So even then, the ultimate goal in and of itself is a bunch of meaningless, hollow relationships that only do what? It's basically just masturbation with another person's body. And the truth of the matter is, I think it was wonderful what that man did. It's fucking fantastic. Working hard, gaining money, going to therapy, changing, becoming better. But the problem that he had was he thought, it's a problem a lot of people are having. A problem that a lot of the dating coaches, a lot of the gurus here are trying to get young men to follow. Obviously because it lines their pockets. If you can keep feeding these men a bunch of hope, if you keep telling these men you're going to get what you want, of course they're going to pay you money. Of course they're going to buy your course. Of course they're going to listen to you. But if you actually tell them the truth, no one's going to want to sit around and listen and hear the truth. And the truth is, you can do everything right and still lose. No one wants to hear that. No one's going to pay money to hear someone say, you can do everything right and it doesn't matter. Because that woman will still want someone who's stronger, faster, better than you are. Who's going to pay money to hear that? That doesn't give you hope. That doesn't make you feel better. That doesn't rustle your jimmies. So that's why they bullshit you. And the truth of the matter is, there might be some dudes who will be successful in having a bunch of meaningless, frivolous relationships, if you call that success. But again, there's going to be a huge group of men who aren't. Because they can't reach that standard. Because that standard should have never been set in the first place. We never address what a lot of what Kevin Samuels was trying to do before he passed away, was that the criteria for being accepted as a male is too high. It's absurd. It's absurd that we have to toil to this extent for women that don't even like us most of the time. And if not don't like us, certainly don't appreciate us. It's absurd to set up this standard and tell young men they have to do so much and do so much to be accepted. Because the problem is the fact that they still might not be accepted. Because we still haven't addressed the fact that they're not the problem. Not the full problem, at least. And don't get me wrong, there are some young men who are, I'll just be frank, pathetic. There's some young men who don't try. There's some young men that have a lot of potential and don't do anything with it. And to that extent, I would say, meh, if they find no one to date. They're not trying. But to try as hard as you possibly can to reach the stars, for women that have done nothing but be, for women that showed up, for women that just exist and breathe air and breathe oxygen, women that are still stuck with the mentality of a 15 to 16-year-old. When they're like 25, we're supposed to fight for them. We're supposed to fight and struggle and claw for women that are still stuck in a teenage mindset. It's absurd. It's absolutely absurd. And instead of having women raise up to our level, honestly, a level of maturity, of honor, of compassion, of thinking about other people before yourself, being selfless, we've decided that it's better to become what the worst generation of women are asking for. Incredible, at least to me. And this is why I tell lots of young men that you do what's right because it's right. Because the journey itself has its own value. It sounds flowery, it sounds anime, it doesn't make you feel good immediately, and you may not downright appreciate it by itself. But exercising has its own value to make your life more comfortable. Working hard and doing well in your job and securing your position and being able to retire makes your life more comfortable because now you'll have the resource and the ability to do what you want to do. Not so you can present it to a woman so she can validate it, so that you can actually go and accomplish things that are interesting, that are cool, that are wonderful, and help other people out too if you wanted to, which I think is probably one of the most validating things in the world, in my personal opinion at least. There's lots of things that are wonderful about self-improvement. There's lots of things that are wonderful about actually going to therapy and healing your mind and becoming stronger. Lots of things. And the truth of the matter is, you should do all of those things because it's the right thing to do. You don't do those things because it's going to get you an expected result, because you might not get anything. But it's not getting something that was important. When you're exercising and working out, it's not the end goal that's important. What's important is the journey. What's important is gaining the skills. What's important is gaining the strength of mind as well to work hard while you're doing something difficult. What's important are the skills that you can use to problem solve in different areas in your life. The different ways you needed to solve a problem at your job, you can now use when you're trying to fix an issue at home. That's what's important. And you've seen this cliche nonsense all the time, that it's the journey that's important. It's the climb that's important. You guys remember that Miley Cyrus song from way back when? It's actually doing the work that's important. You guys remember in Karate Kid, when Daniel was painting the fence, wax on, wax off? It was that muscle memory that he was gaining to get to the goal of learning karate. That's what all this stuff is about. Becoming good and becoming strong. Because you're supposed to be. Because when you have all that stuff, and you do find a good woman, a woman that is worth fighting for, a woman that does have integrity, a woman that does love you for who you are, if you lose your money, she's not going to leave. If you're emotionally vulnerable, she's not going to be scared because she knows your character. But if all you ever do is focus on the surface and focus on the materialism, all you're going to get are a bunch of harpies that want your material stuff and only want to use you as a thing. And at worst, if you don't get that, you'll get nothing. And then you'll feel like everything that you've done amounted to not a damn thing. But of course that isn't true. And again, this message isn't going to make you feel good. Because having grit and doing what's hard and doing what's tough ain't comfortable. But it is necessary. And I can't leave you guys off with this message that you're just going to walk away feeling, oh man, I'm just so great to be a man. No, because working and living life is hard. But someone's got to do it. Someone's got to have that responsibility. Someone's got to work hard. And again, you don't do this stuff because you're going to get some type of reward. You do this stuff because it's necessary. You do this stuff because it's right. A lot of people have forgotten how important virtue and character really is. But those are the things that matter in the end. When everything's all said and done, if you lose everything, all your materialistic stuff, if you have that strong mental fortitude, you can gain it all back. If you have the skills you need, you can get whatever you want if you have the skills. So you don't do this stuff again because you're going to get some woman. You don't do this stuff because you're going to get praise, you're going to get validation. You do what's right because it's right. So that being said, I hope you guys got something out of today's video, and if you did, man, go and click the like button. And shoot, go and click that subscribe button. Comment comments below. And as always, you guys have yourselves a great day. I'll see you cool cats soon. Adios.